You're listening to episode 14 of A Whole New You podcast. On today's show, I'm talking with Dr. Josh Handt about the benefits of chiropractic care. Welcome to A Whole New You podcast. I'm your co-host, Kim Maravich. I'm a registered nurse and author of the book 360 Health. I'm joined by my dear friend, Lori Biddle, a health and wellness coach certified through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Our show exists to inspire and empower women to take charge of their health, with weekly tips and conversation about self-care, mindset, nutrition, fitness, and clean living. Please keep in mind that the material provided in this podcast is intended as general information only and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. We're thrilled to have you here. Let's get to the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I am pleased to have Dr. Josh Handt joining me. Dr. Josh is the CEO of Lifestyle Locker and an owner and partner at the New York Chiropractic Life Center. He also teaches other doctors and health professionals to create their own podcast and how to share it with their current and future health tribe. Dr. Josh firmly believes that a life worth living is a life worth living in abundance. He finds the need to share the importance of the intimate relationship between lifestyle and abundant life, abundance in everything, from health to finances to relationships and even spirituality. Welcome, Dr. Josh. Happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I am very, very glad to be here.
You have such a good radio voice.
So I've been told.
It is. It's awesome. Well, guys, I know Dr. Josh because we've never met in person, but I appeared on his podcast last year in 2017, I believe. Maybe it was 2018. I
think 2018. I'm not totally sure. But
Yeah, 28. That makes sense because I was appearing to kind of talk about my book, and my book was published in late 2017. So we got to chat on his podcast, and I learned a lot from him just by being on his show too. And he helped me kind of catch that bug for wanting to be on a podcast myself. So I thought it would be kind of cool to have him on our show. And I know that chiropractic care is something that is really of interest to me and to a lot of our listeners. So I am excited to learn more from you today.
Well, I'm glad to share.
So just before we talk about chiropractic care, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, and the development of your practice?
Okay, yeah. So I'm come from like a pretty odd family, I'll call us. Odd in a good way. We're just very different, and it's becoming the different is becoming more common, I think, in society. I was brought up. I'm now a second generation chiropractor. My father is a chiropractor, and I was brought up, which this may sound odd to others, but I was brought up vaccine free. Mm-hmm. Never had a needle in my body growing up, and been around all sorts of conditions like measles. I've traveled now around the world and have never been vaccinated. So I've been also in this. I've been an athlete, and I've been injured just like the rest of everybody that's done anything crazy like an athletic sport. And, I've used chiropractic care and lifestyle and crazy things like meditation. I've been doing this as a young age. It sounds kind of weird, and visualization and all these different things. So fast forward going to practice, I didn't really ever dream of being a chiropractor. I was brought up in it, and I thought every kid never took a medication. If a kid in school said he was sick, I'd say, "Does your dad adjust you?" And they would look at me like I had four heads, but I thought every kid's dad was a chiropractor. And that's all I knew. So growing up and not wanting to be a chiropractor was kind of odd, or not even thinking about it. I grew up wanting to be a competitive alpine skier, go to the Olympics and stuff like that. So that did not work. I'm talking to you now as a chiropractor, so I wasn't in the Olympics, as we all know. But nonetheless, long story short, I graduated the marketing and finance degree because I got injured, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to compete the way I wanted to. And when I was getting ready to graduate, sitting in my room at Sony Pictures in Manhattan, Columbia TriStar Pictures actually was the organization. We all have seen that, the horse jumping over the thing in the beginning of movies.
Sure.
I'm sitting looking out my window of my soon-to-be job, which I got offered a very nice salary for at a very young age, going, can I see myself here in 30 years? Like looking out this same window, looking at these
Mm.
same buildings, like what kind of impact am I making on people's lives? So I opted right before I graduated and right before I was getting ready to start my job, I took a science class. I took an anatomy and physiology class, and it was a game changer for me. I go, holy cow, I've been missing this the whole time.
Mm.
So I had to take every single science course. And for those of you that are listening that have ever taken a science course in college, they can be challenging.
Yeah.
And I took everything from inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, physics, anatomy and physiology to all of these in one summer. It took like everything. And all
Oh.
my advisors said, you're going to fail. I'm like, no, I am not. I want to get through. And I was, just so everybody knows, I was like a C student in high school.
Mm.
But fast forward through school and undergrad, I ended up graduating with honors, very close to a 4.0, and in
Mm.
both undergrad and in college. Like when I found what I wanted to do, became
Yeah.
very easy. So yeah, and I started to figure myself out, and getting in and through chiro school and graduating as a student, or just I don't call myself still a student today, but graduating chiro school, I thought I knew everything about everything. You know, you're so smart when you come out after spending thousands of hours. I'm sure you know the same thing, maybe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Of course.
But you know, you got to learn, and that's, I think that's why they call it practice. And in my practice, we take care of all sorts of things, and we're not necessarily a pain-based practice. We take care of people that are injured and in pain. I think it would be wrong not to, but we really put a ton of energy in helping people transition towards living their ultimate healthy life and lifestyle. You know, everything we talk about, everything from nutrition, chiropractic first, then we talk about nutrition and movement and connecting people to other natural health practitioners so they can start to just fill in some of the blanks or the spaces in their life that they've been maybe missing along the way, so they can experience abundance across the board.
Mm. I love that. I think I love that you work in conjunction with other holistic healers too, and that you do treat the whole person, but that you're also looking at things like nutrition. That's one thing I love about, chiropractors in general, is that, and which is, and I'm coming from a traditional medical background,
Hmm.
being a registered nurse, but that's one thing that many physicians, MDs, don't have training in, is that nutritional aspect. And the thing that I love, I think, about chiropractic more than anything is that you are treating things like conditions and ailments, but you are also working to prevent some of those things too, preventing pain, preventing disease. And part of that is through nutrition as well.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's really inspiring. I love that story about you too.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
zig and a zag.
yeah, 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 exactly. But I love that. So, for the mass majority of our population, why would chiropractic care be so beneficial? So, like, even if someone doesn't have like an injury, why would you recommend chiropractic care for most people?
Oh, awesome question. So I'm going to try to paint the picture for everybody, because chiropractic, I'm a very visual learner, so bear with me over audio. If we look, just think of the human body, the full body. If we picture, we know what the main control system is, which is the brain, right?
Hmm.
That's at least what we can measure. I'm sure we know this stuff that's beyond, but what we can measure is the master control system in the body is the brain, and it communicates through the whole body, through the spinal cord, and then you have 31 pairs of nerves. So picture that, 31 pairs of nerves that branch out like tree branches out to every cell, tissue, organ in the whole body. So when the communication between the brain and those nerves out to the body, and that information back up is constantly moving back and forth clearly without any interference, the body works the best that it can. Right? That's just science right there. So what happens, because the nervous system is so intimately connected through the spine, and I know I'm doing a lot of numbers with everybody, there are 24 moving bones in the spine. If one of those bones shifts out of its proper alignment, I know people have heard the word pinch nerve. This is not that. We're not pinching a nerve. That's a severe injury. But if we irritate or aggravate the way the nerve functions, and that nerve, let's say, goes to the blood vessels that go to your head, we get crazy things like headaches. Or if they control the muscles in your lower back, you may get a spasm in your low back. But they also control things like your stomach, your heart, your lungs. They tell your body when to breathe, when to digest, and how to do things. So what chiropractic does, we look for those very specific misalignments, which the term is subluxation. We actually will do a hands-on adjustment to address that problem, and the body does the healing. We don't claim to do the healing with the person. We let the body do what it needs to do with the nervous system functioning optimally. So I think regardless of pain, if you have a spine, it's worth getting checked. Same way you would check your teeth at a dentist.
Hmm. So yes, I love that. So even just for, um, maintenance of daily living
Yeah,
purposes. Yeah.
totally.
So kind of like along those same lines, you were talking about, just your body working in the nervous system in conjunction. I'm thinking of when I was doing research for my book, I do have a little section on chiropractic care because I found it fascinating that chiropractic care can actually help with detoxification of the body
Hmm.
and also boosting immunity. So, could you speak to that a little bit and how, that might work?
Yeah. So, I mean, just we could think of some of the simple functions,
Mhm,
of the body when we're detoxing. We have to, where you and our immune system. Those are two things that are going to be interrelated with each other, right?
mhm,
So, understanding some of the science, your immune system lies in two different, or and it's in your body, but the two main control areas are your brain and your gut, right? We've all
mhm,
heard that, we have a lot of um, important things going on in our gut as far as digestion, detoxification, elimination. So when the body or the brain has to communicate back and forth, and what I find in my practice, which is very interesting when it comes to immune function and then to detox, and I have to kind of put digestion in there as well, because I'm not doing blood tests like a nurse or like a medical doctor may. But
mhm,
what we find with our patients that come in, we tend to find that people that tend to have issues in two different main areas. One is their lower spine, they're called the lumbar spine, and two is their upper cervical, meaning the top portion of their neck, like the base of where your brain drops into your spine. Those two areas, when misaligned, what we tend to find with people is they have a lot of, I call it digestive distress.
hmm,
They have a lot of different types of symptoms with digestion, which means they're gassy, or they have constipation or diarrhea, or all the above, which means their body's not holding their nutrients in. Um, and secondly, the upper cervical area, because the intimate relationship between your brainstem, which controls all of our organ function, if that's misaligned, it can affect everything, even the way the blood flows into the gut.
hmm.
So people that come into our practice that have issues with, um, you know, detoxing. Well, I'm not talking detox like, you have you're taking too many drugs or drinking too
No,
much
no.
alcohol, right?
Yeah,
We're talking about
right.
like eliminating
Mhm.
toxins
Yeah.
from the body. um, when we start adjusting people that have these two types of misalignments, or two different areas of misalignments, the results that I get to see, I mean, I see everything from like, well, their digestive distress completely will go away. Like, does
Wow.
this make sense that
Wow.
I don't have to go to the bathroom like as much, or whatever it may be, like an IBS or something like that. But what I also will see, and I think this is probably a portion of the detoxification. I'll see people's skin change, like
Mm.
their skin will clear up. I'm like, what else are you doing? They're like, nothing. Is this weird that I'm
Hmm.
like my skin tone is changing? Like I'm not breaking out as much because I'm not as toxic internally. Um, or if they've been really skinny or overweight, either they start losing weight and they're not changing their diet, or they're gaining weight because their body's absorbing nutrients again. So chiropractic is really unique in a sense that, because it's so specific to the nervous system, we can make a big impact. But I would say the next level for me would be that I would love to be able to see like blood tests in this, even though I don't get to see that directly. But I know people are changing internally at amazingly fast rates, when it may have taken them decades to get to us, and they've
Yeah.
changed in 2 or 3 months. This way.
It's really miraculous that just having your body in realignment can affect everything. But that makes sense the way you're explaining it is that our nervous system, because our spine is part of our nervous system, holds it in place. that when it's functioning properly, that the whole body can start to function properly, kind of like unblocking itself. Would
Yes,
you say? Yeah.
exactly. And
Hmm.
I'll say this just to make it a little clear for everybody. There's two things I want to say that are important to understand. Is one, that there are usually three major stressors in the body, or to the body, I should say, that will give you those subluxations, that will cause those misalignments. You could think of the nervous system like a circuit breaker, right?
Hmm.
It's regulating everything that's going in and out. So when there's too much stress on a circuit breaker, what happens? It clicks
Yes.
off, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So saying that, the three main stressors are this. So one is could be physical stress. I mean, right now we're talking across the internet. It's really cool. I'm standing at a standing desk, but most people are sitting during the day. So physical stress could be sitting with poor posture for a long time. It could be a car accident. It could even, believe it or not, be part of the birth process. You have
Hmm.
very high amounts of weight that are pulled on a baby's head if it's done in a traditional setting, which can cause a lot of misalignment very, very early in age. And if not caught, I get to see it later down the road.
Hmm.
So physical stressors. Two, we call chemical stressors, and this is the stuff that goes in or on our body. It could be food, medication, makeup, lotions, potions, all the different stuff that goes in or on, right? Even just think about like the air we breathe. All of these things can affect our nervous system. Your nervous system is measuring your internal and external environment. So when those stressors get too high, the same kind of things can happen. So you don't necessarily need to have something physical happen to you to create that misalignment. It
That's so
sounds kind of crazy,
interesting.
right?
That's crazy. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so fascinating, though.
Yeah, you'll get this one. This is the wildest of all of them. And when I share this with patients, that they get it, is we have what I call it our mental emotional stressors in our body. And it could be finances, family, relationships, whatever, stress, work, right? Stressors that cause us stress. When everybody says the word stress, they're thinking like just that type of stress. But people go, well, how does that really affect my body? And here's how it works. So everybody listening, just pay attention for a second. I'm sorry, I didn't want to mean to scare everybody, but if I clap my hands like that without even touching you, and possibly even through your podcast app where you're listening to this, you may have just jumped a little bit. I changed your blood pressure, your heart rate. I dropped adrenaline into your system, triggered your fight or flight response by not even touching you. So your mind did that, right?
Mm.
So if our mind lives in that type of stress, which is like, okay, there's a lion after me, I'm going to run. Your body knows to calm down after that. Or New York City, like a taxi cab running after you, you cross the street, but then you can calm down again. But many of us live in chronic stress long term, and it could be a month, it could be years, decades with people. Your body will slowly break down internally, and that stressor will also cause some of these subluxations. And long term, they're really detrimental. So those three major stressors can really, really have a major effect on your body.
This is just so interesting to me because I never ever thought of, I mean, I think everyone, of course, thinks about physical stress and,
Uh-huh.
the posture, of course, that's one thing for me. It was part of the reason why I sought out chiropractic care,
Mhm.
but I never thought about having the chemical and mental emotional aspects of that. Now, let me ask you, going along with that, if if having kinds of stress on your body like that can cause you to be out of alignment and have a subluxation, could getting realigned help reduce the overall stress in your body?
Yeah, so this is pretty cool. This is how it works. I'm glad you asked that. So it doesn't get rid of stress, right? Stress is something that's constantly there. That lets us know we're
Hmm.
alive. And we don't have stress, we're ultimately, I hate to say this, but we're dead. Our bodies constantly has
Yeah.
different types of stressors in our body. So what chiropractic does when we start to retune, if you will, like giving the nervous system a tune up, when it does that, what you start to do, you start to increase your body's ability to adapt to the different type of stressors.
Mm.
Okay. That doesn't mean if you're eating McDonald's every day and you get adjusted, it's going to save you. Like that's bad, right? That's obviously
Yeah.
doing something bad. But different stressors that, you may have a stress in your life, and we'll say maybe a mental emotional stress where you may get burned out feeling, and then eventually you get a headache at the end of the week. And it's like, oh, I can't wait. It's almost Saturday. Like
Mhm.
that type of stress, what happens is your body deals with it. So your body's not going to have the response, that mental emotional response. But it also, and I say the word physiology, the way your body internally works, it doesn't have the negative effect inside. Once your body starts getting adjusted, your body is staying stronger The term is called general adaptive potential, meaning it's GAP. So you're increasing your body's ability to adapt, the potential for adaptation.
So interesting. I know that when I have gone to a chiropractor before, I think looking back, I think during times of high stress in my life, um, I think the stress also creates like a physical, like my posture will sag,
Oh
or
yeah,
so I am. It's kind of like that 1-2 punch where you're actually feeling stress in your life, but then your posture suffers from that,
of course.
or you're just like literally the weight of the stress pulls on you, on your spine, and I often will have subluxation in my neck. Which leads to headaches and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
it's just like spirals out of control. But when I can be, more diligent about going more frequently to the chiropractor, I do notice that, like you said, I can handle those stressors a little bit better, and I'm not, feeling those same aches and pains from being out of alignment. It doesn't change necessarily, like you said, the stress coming into your life, but maybe the way that you can handle it.
Yeah. I mean, think of this also when, I practice in New York City. So if you were to stand outside my office and look at people walking, or even where you are, looking at people walking out in the street in town, people that are happy, what is their posture? You can see it on their face. Their
Hmm.
head is up, their shoulders are relaxed. They're like got a little hop in their step.
Yeah.
People that are not either not happy or depressed or whatever it may be. Some people may say, "Oh, I have a chemical imbalance because I have something going on." What is their posture? Always
Yeah.
forward slunched, head down, usually looking at the floor. And I don't care what age you are. That is the depressed or the sad posture.
Absolutely. I think that's yeah. I mean, we wear it all over our bodies.
Hmm.
Um, One thing I was going to ask you was about chiropractic care and improving mood, and I think you kind of helped to clarify that for
Yeah.
me. Um, but on a tangent from that, I've been interested lately, and I think it's because I have little boys now who
Hmm.
are my youngest is, he's I love him. He's a live wire though.
Hey, listen,
And
I was a little one too. I was a demon
yeah.
child.
but, but you did talk about adjusting children, and I'm just wondering, kind of along with that mood and behavior aspect, do you see? I know that you do adjust children, and I haven't
Yes.
taken my son yet, but I am interested in taking my youngest. But I'm also wondering, do you see chiropractic care helping children's like overall behavior at
Yes.
all? You
Yes.
do.
Yes. Yes. And
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
It's really interesting when kids don't have the same baggage that we do, right, as
Mhm.
adults.
Right.
So, I mean, granted, they're being bombarded with information a lot more than we were when we were kids, just because of the ease of finding information, TV, phones, iPads, whatever it may be. There's a lot of information, and then their friends compound that, right?
Hmm.
So, what there are a couple things that I get to see. One is kids when kids start getting adjusted, they respond because they're going in with no preconceived ideas.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So they don't have the thoughts like, "Oh my god, they're gonna do something to my back or my neck, and I don't know if it's good." And obviously, we're not hurting people, but the kids go in and they're excited because I'm not dressed in a lab coat. I don't have blood stains on my shirt, type of thing. Like it's a fun place to go. So the kids will come in a little more open and relaxed, and even their parents, even if the parents are not even patients yet. Usually it comes kids first, and then
Mm,
the parents are like, "Holy cow, that's amazing! It'll work with me too," type of thing.
interesting.
But what happens is kids will look much clearer. And I don't have children, but I can tell you this: when we started adjusting, I adjust newborns, the day of, and all the way through. But when you get to adjust a child, really any young age, you can almost. It sounds weird, it may sound cheesy, but I almost feel like you can see their soul because
Mm,
their eyes, like you can just see so much clarity. They're much more relaxed. Um, they're just more human to me, right? It's just they become very peaceful. But also, I will say this because you said your boys are a little busy. I have had these two brothers under care in my home office for a while before I got rid of my practice, and these kids they got adjusted. One of them was, I think, started at 3, and the other one started in the womb. and then started care.
Wow.
And the amount of energy they would get adjusted, and I have almost 2 acres of property, so they get adjusted before the parents, and it would be like I gave them like an energy drink. I don't recommend giving anybody drinking an energy drink. I think they're horrible for you. But they'd open the door to the office and run up and down my property like 100 times, back and they were like their parents like, what are you doing? It's like you turn their body back on again. Like they're coming back from school, like in that, and they say that sad posture. They
Yeah.
get adjusted once they're in the office, and it's like the lights turn back on. It's like, all right, I'm ready for life again.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, so I see
So what
really
you're
cool stuff.
telling me is if I do bring my sons, that I need to plan on going outside afterwards.
You may need to, and kids respond differently. A lot of kids get a lot of energy. Some kids that even may have too much energy may just get a little bit of like peace and I won't say silence, but a little
Mhm.
calmer.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. My son is too young to have like any kind of diagnosis or anything, but I mean, I just wondered, with hyperactive children, if it
Yeah.
had the reverse effect, if it helped them to kind of calm down
Well,
at all.
just think of the way the brain works. I mean, as kids, we need to like when I was a kid, there was no such thing as hyperactivity. It's like go
Hmm.
outside and play.
Yeah.
That's what it was when I was a kid, and I would probably be defined as a hyperactive adult.
Hmm.
The way I just like do a lot of things now.
Yeah.
But I will say that if the nervous system needs to be moving, it's good to let it move, right? If he's like you're very antsy, but I also say when they're getting adjusted, when kids are getting adjusted, and 9 times out of 10, I shouldn't say 9 times out of 10, but very very frequently, it's going to be that upper cervical, right? That neck, the
Hmm.
higher neck adjustment, and it becomes so powerful because it lets everything just clear out. And some kids, like we said, will have that calming effect, and some of the others I've had have just they've needed to release so much, I guess,
Hmm.
spent up mental,
Yeah.
physical tension that they just have to let it out.
Yeah. And I just love it. It's like this is like magic.
It
It
is
really is.
cool. It's weird
Yeah.
when I first started seeing it, it's like, whoa, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think you've sold me. I
Yeah.
think I need to take my boys in for
Oh,
various
oh, thank
reasons,
God.
but
Get them
yeah.
checked with a good family chiropractor, and
Mhm.
they'll fall in love with it. They'll be
Yeah.
picking you.
Yeah, that would be good. We need it to be a family affair, I think.
Yeah, and you want to hear this is something interesting. Outside of kids and humans, we don't adjust pets in New York, but I will tell you this: the energy in a fun chiropractic office is very contagious. That we have patients that walk dogs that end up walking past our office. The dogs will stop at our door
Really?
to go in. I swear to God. It's so crazy, like, and they just they'll wait at the door, like, to come, and even if we're closed, they're like, "Yeah, we walked past your office today, and
That is
the dog stopped."
that's so
It's
cool.
great.
Too bad.
It's,
They want in on the action too,
they
huh?
do, they do.
Yeah. Well, so most of the listeners of this podcast are women,
Uh-huh.
primarily. So, what advice would you give for us specifically, and how maybe chiropractic care can help us through various stages of our life? So, I'm thinking about like maybe during pregnancy, postpartum, even into menopause.
Okay.
So, not only just like obviously when we're pregnant, our physical body, it takes a toll on our
Of
physical
course, of
body.
course.
But then I'm also thinking about how chiropractic care could help and affect our hormonal health too.
Yeah, so it's really a neat concept and how it works with, especially because, going from pregnancy and then beyond. What I find with the patients that we take care of a lot of pregnant patients, a lot of pregnant women, and from early all the way straight through their process. And what we find is women that are getting adjusted on a pretty regular basis through pregnancy. We'll just say pregnancy wise, their pregnancies and births end up being a lot easier because your pelvis is
Hmm.
directly connected to your uterus through you have something called a round ligament,
Hmm.
and all these different attachments. So if those are all kept in alignment by a chiropractor that knows how to use specific techniques to address right those issues, pregnancies are awesome. Even if their chiropractor's not even so specifically trained in pediatric chiropractic or like pregnancy chiropractic,
Hmm.
most techniques do amazing work with them. It's just an extra win if you can find a chiropractor that's trained in some of those techniques. One of them is called the Webster technique,
Okay.
and super cool. We have such great results with patients. We don't, people say chiropractors flip babies. We don't flip babies if they need to be turned, but a lot of times we'll have patients whose babies will turn because of
Mm.
their alignment of their pelvis and their all of the the parts, right? So it's
But,
really cool. We get
yeah.
to see things like that. Um, as far as hormones go, like again, I don't measure them, so it's hard for me to give you 100% exact. But I will tell you the patients that we have that have been going through some of like the process of like menopause
Yeah.
and beyond.
Yeah.
That it's a lot of times it's a softer blow because people that are using chiropractic on a regular basis are a lot more in tune with their body,
Hmm.
and they're also usually either working with or have learned from a nutritionist. They are much more conscious and proactive. So I don't get to see them like, constantly like fanning themselves in my office all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like type of thing.
Yeah.
So periodically, but it's not the norm,
Hmm.
right? I'd say our patients are not the norm, if you will. So again, I would love to be able to see some blood work done like from these patients, like compared to, we'll say a different, we'll say a normal population. Um, but just based on my experience alone, I mean, if we know we're affecting the nervous system, if this is a normal body process that's supposed to happen,
Yeah.
right? It should probably happen smoothly and should not be a detriment to our health,
Right.
right? It should be something that's normal. Aging is something that's considered normal, right? Consider the alternative. If we're not alive, that's not good either.
Right. Right.
So, um, I would say that chiropractic probably helps that process move
Hmm.
smoother than without chiropractic, just based on the function of the nervous system alone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I was also thinking about, um, just as part of menopause and part of the detoxification process, when we have excess estrogen and our
Mhm.
bodies are going through those changes, that just adjustments in and of themselves, helping with that detoxification process, may help with that hormonal change as well.
Yeah, I
So,
would I wouldn't doubt. I wouldn't doubt
yeah,
that. I can't claim anything, but I
right.
wouldn't doubt it.
One of the questions from one of our listeners was just this is just kind of like a good way to sort of wrap up the conversation is just that if we were looking, if we're not seeing a chiropractor right now,
Uh-huh.
maybe what are some questions we would ask of a potential doctor to help us select somebody who might be right for us?
Okay. Because of the audience we're talking to, and I would say that I would tell this to any of my friends and or family. So I'm putting you all in that world.
Uh-huh.
So I would say a good question to ask is one is do you take care of kids or
Mm.
families?
Hmm.
Right. And to me, that's important because they are humans, right?
Yeah.
So they deserve and should have the opportunity to receive chiropractic care, right? So if the doctor says no, I would I would lean probably to make another phone call.
Okay.
Not be me, but that's just
Hmm.
you're looking for a wellness, someone very lifestyle minded. They're usually going to see kids. That would be the first. Um, Second, ask them, do they adjust subluxations?
Okay.
That's an important thing because that's the primary thing that chiropractors should be the absolute best at. That's what they do, right? If they can analyze, find, and start to correct these subluxations, these misalignments, you're going to get better. If they say, "What's that?" then you run.
So
Okay.
I that's kind of confusing to me because I thought that was so. What do chiropractors do that don't correct subluxations? Like,
Well,
what
well,
techniques
so
are they?
you know what? Some may use things like certain modalities, like I'm not that these are wrong, but they're
Hmm.
not chiropractic, right? So they
Okay.
may do use certain modalities,
Okay.
like maybe a physical therapist might, and that's
Mm,
more because they're going to be in the mode of like pain relief versus
okay.
body improvement or health improvement or life function improvement.
Okay.
So and a lot of times, unfortunately, I think this is in a lot of different areas of healthcare. A lot of times it becomes a financial thing.
Mm,
Um, but most of the time, you'll find a chiropractor, and they're all over that are very focused on addressing the subluxation and all the lifestyle pieces of the puzzle. They may not do nutrition in their office, and that's I wouldn't
hmm.
expect that. They may not, but they will definitely say, "Hey, listen, you should talk to someone about it." Like
Mm,
that's what a a great chiropractor will do. They're going to usually give you someone like yourself, or say, hey, talk to Kim about nutrition or
Yeah.
detox or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I'll take care of your spine and your nervous system. We're going to be the absolute best at it.
Mm-hmm.
If they have time in the space and the resources, they may have something in the office. If not, they're going to definitely share.
But just seeing the body from that holistic approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense. So that's very helpful. Josh, I appreciate you being here with us today. If anybody wanted to contact you or wanted to connect with you, could you tell us where we could
Yeah,
find you?
of course. So there are a couple of great ways to connect with me. One is, well, 1 and 2 and 3 are social media, and then my website. So one is,
Okay.
you can go to lifestylelocker.com, which is my overall podcast information system that I share. That's one. New York Chiropractic, if you're looking for a chiropractor in New York City, that's our website.
Okay.
And social media is facebook.com/lifestyle locker, and then instagram.com/Dr. Josh Handt. And I'm very open. I'm pretty active. I manage the account. So if you message me, have questions, want to connect, I'm glad to offer a piece of my mind if I have it for you, if I can.
Yeah, you are a busy man, I'll
Yeah,
tell you. And you're teaching a podcasting course on top of it all
exactly.
and running
Exactly.
your own. All right, Josh, thank you so much for being here with us today. That's it for today. For more from Kim, you can go to kimmaravich.com. For more from Lori, go to simplyempoweredllc.com. We're always open to listener questions or suggestions, and you can email those to contact@awholenewyou.podcast.com. We'd also love it if you joined our Facebook community and followed us on Instagram. Just search for A Whole New You Podcast. And if you'd be so kind as to leave us a review in iTunes, we'd really appreciate it so that more people can find our show and join our community. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. See you next week.